I would like to call to order the Village of Roscoe Board Meeting, Wednesday, July 5th. And would you, well, first we'll stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're wearing a cap, would you please remove that? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Madam Secretary, roll call please.
Right,
Here.
Simon,
Here.
Malaco,
Here.
Clark,
Here.
Petty,
Here.
Babcock,
Here.
Gustafson.
Here. Public comment. If you wish to speak, please rise, state your first and last name clearly so that the clerk can be recorded. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Anything remote? First. Okay, you'll have another chance if you think of something later. Item number 5, my report. At this time, I would direct the board, if you haven't had a chance to look within your docs, to see a cover letter from Dane Mead. I would like to have a motion to appoint Mr. Mead to fill a unexpired term on the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire in 2027. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I guess. Okay. Right,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty.
Yes, maybe after the fact, I would ask Mr. Mead to stand so everyone can put it in the face.
Hello.
And to share with you that Mr. Mead has attended some zoning committee meetings. He's met with our zoning administrator. So getting up to speed. Anything you would like to say?
Just, my name's Dane Mead, you've heard that. My wife Bethany and I have lived in Roscoe 25 years. We've been pretty active in the community and we really care about our community. And so I appreciate the opportunity and I look forward to serving this community. It'll be my honor.
Thank you. We appreciate your service. Secondly, item 5.2. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R36 appointing Nancy White to the State Line Mass Transit District Board of Directors here for a 4-year term. Now, this would be our second appointee.
So moved.
Second. Babcock,
Yes.
Petty, yes, Clark,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And also in your docs, you have some information about Nancy. Nancy's had a very varied career, very skilled individual across several levels. And would you please rise? And if there's anything you would like to say?
I like the term that you use, Renaissance, because my careers have expanded teaching in elementary school to working in manufacturing to working in the real estate business. And my husband and I moved here in 2005 in Roscoe. And it was too much of a drive from Freeport, 50 minutes on a good day. So we bought a home, and as soon as we closed, my company's position was moved up to St. Paul, Minnesota. My next job was in Monogram System. They moved to Carson, California. So I decided that I would go into real estate that can't move. And from there, I retired. And I am very excited about working with the village to make this a better place.
Thank you. I want to share with you, Nancy did attend the first meeting. She's done her homework. She's been reading the minutes of all of their meetings over the last year and she asked for a glossary of their terms. And so she's ready to go next month. Thank you, Nancy. Couple of miscellaneous things that require no board action. Also in your docs is end result of the strategic planning that the Kinnickinnick School Board did. Scott and I were honored with an invitation to attend that event. So the product you see there is kind of ours.
Absolutely. We
Yes.
contributed.
Yes, we did.
I might have contributed more than they wanted.
Yeah. So, as I said, no action needed, just something for you to take a look at. And I guess that's it for my report. Moving on to item 6, treasurer's report.
Oh, that's me. I'm the treasurer tonight. Oh, yeah, caught me off guard. Oh, tonight we have for approval. Let's see. Expenditures per list. We received. Is the bills of $109,010.54. There were no additional invoices, so that is the full expenditures per list or expenditures submitted. We have payroll expenses of $90,150 for total general fund expenditures of $199,111.04. This leaves a checking account balance in the general fund after these expenditures of $9,776,747.12. We have no motor fuel expenses this evening, and the total cash and equivalents in the motor fuel fund is $1,258,647.68.
Item 6.2, is there a motion to approve the bills?
So moved. Second.
Any questions?
I have one. Have we been reimbursed for half of the HVAC system at
No.
Swanson Park?
We have not.
Are they not making some installments? $500, I think was made, isn't it?
That was totally separate. That's a
Oh.
separate contribution to the village. There was, we had, what trustee Petty is referring to is that we had reached out to, the head of State Line Fast Pitch that operates out of Swanson Park. We recently did HVAC upgrades. We asked if they would be willing to share that cost and pay half of it. They indicated they would, and I don't believe we've invoiced them for it, so we should do.
Next
I don't know.
next week. Any other questions? If we can call the vote, please.
Thank you. Simon,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty, yes, Flock,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Item 7.1, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 20th board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Petty, yes, Flock,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Item 7.2. May I have a motion to approve the special event permit for State Line Series Roscoe Disc Golf Tournament to be held at Porter Park on July 29th?
So moved. Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Petty, yes.
Item 7.3. May I have a motion to approve the special event permit for the Rock Valley Radio Control Fly-In to be held at Chicory Ridge Park on August 26th?
So moved. Second.
Babcock,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Item 7.4. May I have a motion to approve a special event permit for the YMCA Stonebridge Half Marathon to be held at Leland Park on September 23.
So moved. Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty, yes.
Item 7.5, may I have a motion to approve the special event permit for Keep Northern Illinois Beautifuls 2023 Mud Volleyball Tournament to be held at Riverside Park on August 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright.
Yep.
Simon,
Yes.
Block.
Yes.
Item 8.1, may I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-09, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow construction of a multipurpose community open air pavilion, including live musical performances at 4562 Onondaga Road.
So moved. Second.
Okay, before there is a vote, I would like to read for you the conditions of the special use permit so that everyone here is on the same page. And you have these in your docs and maybe you have for you. First, and for the audience, there shall be no amplified music or amplified sound system used as any part of any outdoor event. Secondly, there shall be no service, sale, or consumption of alcohol on the premises without a valid liquor license issued by the Village of Roscoe. Third, that all outdoor gatherings or events shall cease at 9 p.m. and the park shall be closed to the public at 10 p.m. Fourth, that a representative or employee of the owner shall be identified to the village as a designated point of contact who will be available to be contacted by the village during scheduled outdoor events to address any urgent or emergency concerns. 5, that the owner shall provide in the pavilion rental or usage agreement that the renter will be on site during the event and will be responsible for ensuring compliance with the owner's rules and regulations. 6, that the location of the proposed special use shall be substantially the same size or smaller and in the same relative location as shown on the site plan attached thereto as Exhibit B. 7, this special use permit shall expire upon transfer of the property to any other owner. Right, there was a motion and a second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Comment, or
yes.
just- First of all, question this, all terms apply only to the pavilion, correct? It's not any other structure on the campus or town square.
This is for the outdoor multi-use pavilion
Yes.
use for zoning.
Any other questions?
These that you just read, Carol, are all the ones in the process that we've added to this.
Through the back and forth, yes.
Yes.
Correct. Any other questions? Good. Calling for the vote.
Babcock,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes,
Wright,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Item 8.3. Approval of ordinance 2023-11, approving a text amendment to Article 8 of the Village of Roscoe zoning ordinance governing the development. I beg your pardon. Forget that. 8.2. Approval of ordinance 2023-10, approving a temporary variance to parking lot design standards, temporarily waiving surface paving and curb and gutter requirements for a defined period of time at 4562 Onondaga Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
couple questions. One, are we voting on, so if we do not go for this, can they still park cars on grass or no? Additional cars?
Yes. Can they not? Yes.
Can they park 100 cars like in the field if it's not voted on?
That's a great question, Trustee Simon. I suppose they could. However, they're building a structure that has new occupants, that has a new determined number of people that would be there. That requires parking. This we would not issue a permit for this, for construction, a zoning permit for this, without some acknowledgement that appropriate parking is being provided in accordance with our ordinance. Right now, all we have is a variance request to say we want to park on grass for a period of 1 year from the certificate of occupancy, and by 12 months after that date, we'll have a parking lot that complies with ordinance. If we denial of the variance would actually just mean they have to pay for the lot, have to do it. We would not issue a permit for construction of a facility if there wasn't some appropriate acknowledgement of addressing the parking needs that come along with that. So in this case, they're asking for a variance to hold off for a year to let them park in an identified area of grass. Time frame to it. I think failure to approve that variance, they would have to build the parking lot in compliance.
Or limit to the pavement, the paved parking is, right?
Well, the paved parking that's there is almost exactly what's needed to satisfy the occupancy of the community center. What they're actually proposing, what the next phase, I'm gonna go up, I think the existing parking lot is approximately 50 spaces. And I think 50 spaces satisfies by our ordinance for gathering, places of gathering. They hit exactly what they needed for the community center. I think the occupancy of the multipurpose pavilion only requires maybe another 32 or very close to that. I don't have it in front of me. I think the parking lot they're proposing sort of just mirrors the existing parking lot. So it's providing an additional 50, a little over the requirement for a total of 100 now for both facilities combined. But parking is required. I'll make no mistake. So don't approve uses without parking.
Maybe this question is not appropriate, but would it be reasonable to assume that we wouldn't have both of those events happening at both centers? So then parking spots would be adequate?
For that to, again, they've built two different.
Follow my question, Scott?
I do indeed, yeah.
Okay.
But they are building two different facilities.
Right.
Both do have potential to support so many people, right? So there are, and we'll touch upon zoning a little later here, but zoning would dictate that parking is required for both of those. The only way to say one parking lot would serve both would be to expressly prohibit any simultaneous uses of them.
I
And
guess
that's a
I mean,
facility.
for the year that they're asking for it, it would seem like that would be reasonable, but.
It's in essence, if you grant the variance, that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like the existing parking lot might be good enough. And if not, you can park in the grass in this area. Although we do want to make sure some of the language in the variance is that that the area is they take a look at it and make sure that that area is free of ruts or lumps or holes and is closely mowed and is safe for people to park and walk on. And we're not worried about people twisting ankles by stepping in holes like that. So we have asked them to make sure that the area is properly graded out and appropriate for people walking on it.
Now, I understood from what they said, they wanted to delay this was because of cost. It would seem to be a big risk because the way costs continue to go up, the savings you might think by postponing it might end up costing you more. What's the chance of coming back in a year and asking for another year? If we vote on this and we confirm that that's it.
Approving this requires them to build the parking lot within a specified time frame.
Okay.
They would have to come back and ask for an extension, and you would have the right to say yes or no to that extension.
And denying it requires the building of the parking lot when the occupancy permit is issued sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'd have to look. I don't know if it's generally assumed they're built together.
Any other questions, comments?
The reason I bring this up, first, I want to commend the Township of Roscoe for meeting with the people of Prairie Rose and actually considering the surrounding neighbors' concerns. I think as a village, at least myself, all I've been concerned about is safety and noise and disruption from the surrounding community. And so that being said, you know, if you do limit it to 50, it does sort of put a cap on how many people you can have at an event, right? How many people you can have at a wedding or the or not for multi, for the community center and such. And, you know, it could be rolled out in a fashion where we know that noise complaints are being addressed, underage drinking are being addressed. I know that, you know, I've heard from the attorneys and from everyone else that it's covered under the special use ordinance and the catering, those types of things. But if it's unattended and there's no one there, you know, my concern always has been is that can we have somebody at that event space? If there's a wedding or a large wedding going on, it's nighttime, there's music, there's alcohol, can people sneak out? And I think that a reasonable solution, again, this is sort of the track, but is to have somebody there to monitor that, not, you know, they build it into the cost of whatever it is. But for larger events and stuff, I think that you need to have that control in place. Now, we can't tell you how to do your business, but we can actually say, okay, maybe we limit the scope of this so it can be controlled growth, and we can see how the first year goes. Another solution is maybe we do have somebody there to monitor these weddings, and then we could, you know, potentially have a bigger occupancy in the parking lot. Those are sort of the thoughts that I had moving forward. I'd be interested in hearing anybody else's thoughts on that.
Any other questions or comments related to the variance on the parking lot construction?
My only thing would be is it's per our ordinance that they have to have some parking. It's as simple as that. It's not whether or not we can limit it. Like Scott said, it's per building. They have to have a bigger parking lot.
Yeah, we're going to dictate essentially, I think, 82 plus or minus.
Any other question related to the variance of when this lot is going to be constructed? Thank you. Calling. Question?
Simon,
Was there a motion?
There was a motion in a second.
right,
No, at this time.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Teddy,
No,
Babcock,
No,
right.
No.
4 noes, 2 yeses. Variance is not granted. Item 8.3, approval of ordinance 2023-11, approving a text amendment to Article 8 of the Village of Roscoe zoning ordinance governing the development of the solar energy system within the Village of Roscoe. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Scott.
Yeah, if I could just chime in real. I just want to let you know, this was presented at committee of the whole back on the first June meeting, correct? Fixed. Then it had its public hearing at the zoning board of appeals in a week after that. 21st, so it was 2 weeks after that. Now it's back. This is a text amendment. This is a change to the language of our zoning ordinance. It's a change to our rules governing construction and development. So that goes through a public hearing process that happened at the zoning board of appeals. Now it's back to you for sort of final approval, final ratification. Here's the changes. A few changes have happened to the ordinance. I'll give it a minute. A few changes, fairly minor, but just want you to know. One, we changed this addresses both community scale and commercial / utility scale installations. I had initially established the delineation between the two based on size, based on acreage. Some ordinances do that. But further research, further examination, I don't think that's the appropriate delineation. And I think from a licensing standpoint, the definition between the two is based upon power generation. And that's probably a more appropriate, consistent way for us to delineate that. This won't mean much to any of us, I don't think, but anything that generates up to 5.0 megawatts is, or that or below is considered community scale. 5.0 and above, so anything up to 4.99, I guess, is community scale. 5.0 above is considered commercial or utility scale. So we worked that language in to define the difference between the two. As far as size goes, development rule of thumb, to the best of my ability to determine this right now, it's about 7 acres of site usage per megawatt generated. That's a rule of thumb. We're not gonna make it a hard and fast rule. Every site has its own unique challenges as to what might need to be provided or what the topography might be. So we put that in there as an expectation of what we think appropriate size for a community scale would be, 7 acres per megawatt acre. We clarified, there's a concept in our zoning of lot coverage. And by coverage, we mean how much of the area is paved or is otherwise impervious. What's the percentage of the area where water will not be absorbed and will run off? And we wanted to clarify that will be determined for the purpose of a solar installation. The coverage ratio will be determined by what the ground surface is actually finished as. If someone wanted to pave beneath the solar panels, well, that's impervious and they would have to provide stormwater management accordingly. If they are going to develop it as vegetative cover, which we strongly recommend in our ordinance to do a pollinator mix or a short prairie grass mix, or something, a planting treatment at the ground surface. It would have to be low enough not to obscure the panels, obviously. In that case, for the purpose of determining lot coverage, it's all pervious, it's all still ground. The water would infiltrate. It's just an important distinction to make in there. Just as a very simple thing, and it actually came as a comment reviewed from our members of our zoning board of appeals. But that in the requirements we make for their document submittals, for their site plan, we listed off a number of things they are required to represent on their site plan. We had not called specific attention to identifying all the applicable front, side, and rear yard setbacks and any recorded easements. So we put that language in as well. Fairly minor changes to it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Petty,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Real quickly, Trustee Justice, I just want to, was that everybody?
Yeah.
Or did I cut you off? I'm sorry. When we first brought this up, Trustee Simon brought up, hey, let's tackle wind as well. We will. We're going to jump into that right away. We should be doing both. We certainly can't. One of our residents pointed out via an email that the governor had enacted some legislation and that back in January of this year that basically prohibits communities from counties or communities from banning or establishing moratoriums on wind and solar. So it is important that we get out in front of these. There was need, it's a potential development to tackle solar right away, which we have done. We will look into wind next. We have no immediate wind partnerships on the horizon, but we want to have the tools in place. And at a glance, it is significantly more complicated. So, yeah. So be ready for that one in the months to come.
Thank you. Item 8.4, may I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-12, amending portions of section paragraph 5-139 of the Village of Roscoe Code ordinances related to the maintenance responsibilities of property owners adjacent to public rights of way.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, clarification?
I didn't get to read this one. Can someone just give me a brief description of what was she?
Typically, it's hazard trees. If you have a hazard tree on your property, you contact the village will remove.
No, that-
Not on your property, sorry, not on your property, sorry. On the right of way, joining your property, not on your
So
property.
that was for the backyard, like setbacks that we were talking about.
Or yeah, the alleyways, we have the rights of way.
Right. And did we not, let's talk about putting the size, those in excess of 4 inches in diameter, but then it's not here. So that was eliminated for a reason.
Something, and we can certainly make 4 inches in there, or,
Wasn't that the conversation?
we talked about generally,
That we were going to remove those of X size or larger.
You might be right.
And I think you had identified a diameter size, because the conversation was, we don't want to remove the little
We're
rough
not, we're not pulling weeds for people.
Right. Right, but I didn't see that.
I don't have it in there, we can certainly amend that to reflect that.
Let's have 4-inch DBH.
Isn't that what the conversation was in staff? So will someone make an amendment or make a motion to amend the ordinance to include language removal of trees 4 inches in diameter or greater?
So moved.
So calling for a vote on the amendment first.
Right,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Beck.
And secondly, voting on the ordinance as amended.
Simon,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Item 9, any new business? Item 10, old business. I just have, if you mind, I'm on them, just public announcements here. If you remember, April 18th, the Liquor Commission approved a Class T license for Benny's First Rock Fest, and that's going to be this Saturday, the 8th. So remember, that's going to happen in the parking lot.
What time is that?
Oh, I don't know, all day, 8
Noon to 10, I believe. I believe it's noon to 10.
noon to 10.
I'll tell you in a second.
And on their permit. And if you remember the conversation, this person had wanted 3, but we decided time 1 and see how it goes. Through the other 2 permits, we'll see what happens later. Okay,
With your permission, I guess I'll ask if, how will we determine, do we just ask them or do we represent the other 2 at a subsequent meeting? Or are we making some determination whether?
ask him to resubmit. I mean, his plans may have changed. Or he may want to have 6 because he needs up to 20. So ask him to resubmit. Get them spaced out.
I think how we left it was he withdrew the remainers.
He did.
He withdraw those. So you-
I'm just to remind people for these particular ones. It requires both the Class T liquor license and a special event permit. However, the board is only acting on the Class T liquor license. The special event, because the special event permit involves no village property or public roads at all, the board does not vote on that. However,
It was-
it's dependent upon the Class T license, so you are effectively voting on whether the event will happen or not by controlling the Class T license. The other 2 events were scheduled for August 25th, September 9th.
And we had identified that September 9th was also the weekend of fall festival, so I don't know. Still wants to go with that. I don't. My second announcement, I would like to know who on the board here is interested in going to the IML, which will be September 21 through the 23rd. We can book rooms with up to a cancellation of 72 hours prior to. The harder part is getting the rooms. So if you are interested in attending, check your schedules, all of that, communicate, send to Ann Hanson. She can make reservations. So that's the 21st through the 23rd.
Let me ask you a question here.
Yes,
You guys ever gone to this?
yes.
Yes. What's your opinion?
Yes, I don't think it's worth going every year or maybe even multiple years, every few years. Yeah, I think you get a lot out of it as long as you look at the schedule, plan out your day, go to the right seminars, Like if a group of you went, I wouldn't all go to the same seminar. It usually works out better. You break it up so that way you get more information. I know in the past, Carol's asked that you come back and give a little synopsis to the board too. But yeah, I think you get a lot out of it. And you meet a lot of other people. You'll see that there's a lot of other communities out there that have the same things going on that we do. So we're not the iceberg in the sea that we think we are sometimes. You can get a lot out of it.
Especially as a first time
Yes.
member of the board, there are a lot of introductory courses and,
Maybe the first and last time, still.
or you've learned all you need to learn. So registration is in the morning and some sessions begin in the afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Fridays all day and Saturday some. So they will overlap. And as Stacy said, just go ahead and pick and whoever else attends, you just make sure you cover as many as are of interest. And they also have keynote speakers. And of course, there are purveyors of all kinds of wonderful things that can be purchased for use village setting. That's always interesting. Window shop.
Because there's a trade show component to it as well.
And the networking, Stacy said, is also part of it.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions related to that? My last little bit of news. Some of you dropped by to, if you remember on the board, last board, you voted all kinds of dollars for engineering studies and we applied for grants. So each of you have a packet bringing you up to date, or it's a summary of what you had voted on. And also a letter or request, a letter that was submitted to U.S. Congressman Darren LaHood, who stopped in one day last week. So you have that to add to your library. Bringing you up to date. Okay, Sue?
I wondered if the RFQ, the comprehensive plan has been sent out.
It was.
Yes. And Scott is developing a
Great.
timeline as to when those will be back.
They're back on the 29th. July.
And we've got that, the website quotes.
There were 6 responses or so, and Joe and Scott are evaluating those and will make a recommendation.
We'll put a summary memo together.
That will be on the board agenda on the 18th.
Correct.
Give you the home.
Do we have any more info on the fence at Public Works?
We have a meeting.
Go ahead, Scott.
Obviously, we have a meeting scheduled with the contractor on July 10th.
Right.
And is the punch list for the new building completed?
It is not completed. I just followed up again with the contractor this morning. So it's been about a week and a half or 2 weeks of no response from them. So, and we haven't seen them on site for 3 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, since we first issued it. So we are following up routinely.
I saw your email today.
Well, thank you.
Anything you would consider a big item outstanding on the punch list?
I think one that we might receive pushback on is the steel that was erected had some rust and some chip paint scuff marks, and that was primarily because it was left outdoors pre-construction. I talked with the architects. So essentially what we asked for is a new painting of all of the steel. And initially when we met with the contractor's project manager, he did not necessarily agree that they needed to paint all of the steel and that they could just do touch up. It's my understanding that they did show up one day and do minor touching up. Just to let you guys know, that is not, we do not find that as an adequate fix because it's how widespread the issue is. So that's one of the reasons why we've asked them to get back to us on the punch list, because they've never issued a formal response to the punch list, letting us know whether they agree, agree, disagree, want to discuss more. So that's what we're asking for. We've only talked with their project manager, and that was during a field visit, and we talked through some of them. But that was one that might receive a little bit of pushback. So we're waiting on their official response.
And we are still holding retainage.
Correct. Yeah, we're holding 10% retainage still.
Right.
And what's the status of our portable scales?
What do you mean?
Are we using them?
Are we using them?
We are, yep. Our drug enforcement officer is still sharing with South Boyd. And he works probably at least once a week on average.
Had a few of them in court last
Wow.
month or so.
You want to explain what?
They're actually, South Boyd actually, actually had a crash in Rockford as well that they assisted on a large vehicle. A major crash, so, but
I don't know what you're saying.
South Boyd, one of their officers had used them to assist Rockford City, actually, because we were one of the customers. South Boyd are the only ones with these portable scales in the area. South Boyd was able to, they had their officer, and that's the truck enforcement officer. was able to take them down there and assist actually Rockford City with a fairly large.
Like with the intergovernmental police
Yeah.
force.
Yeah, yep.
What's a portable scale?
So we have, we have one part-time police officer. He works for the city of Loves Park full-time. Works for us part-time about 1 day a week on average. And we share like these portable scales or weight scales that they go out and find overweight trucks. And just weigh them and make sure that, you know, they actually go ways and address it accordingly. So then we share those with.
How do you identify a truck just because it might be overweight? They look for the
There's a lot of training involved with that. And it's like.
Yeah, so a lot of times our officers
Mushrooming and-
can just look at the truck and,
Yeah.
or the trained officers can look at that to generally know if it's overweight based on like how low it is, how.
Based upon what kind of
Tires are-
vehicle it is and how much gross vehicle weight that vehicle should be at.
And then we have certified scales.
Is that revenue generating for us? or
Yeah.
just protecting the
Yes.
road?
That's not our specific goal.
Yeah.
Money generated in departments.
Yeah, we don't get a whole lot, but it's, the big part of it is, yeah, it's protecting the roads because making sure
Safety
we're
compliance,
actually
too.
getting the roads not destroyed by.
And a lot of safety
Everybody's
issues. I mean, you get.
Overloaded.
Big issues.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of other things with safety. Are out there and start getting.
What kind of a fine would be something like that? Or does it depend on the? size?
Depends on the weight. I think I would say probably around $900 to $1,500, $2,000, depending on how overweight it is, and how under registered they are, because you register for a certain weight for your vehicle as well. And things in that, so it just depends on the type of overweight.
I took a course on that. The overweight, we had a state trooper come in and they said it was roughly $1 per pound.
Of overage,
Yeah,
The
so if you're
fine?
10,000 pounds over, it's $10,000.
that gets their attention.
That allows them the portable scale to do it right there alongside the roadway, compared to, trying to get other places like gravel pits and stuff like that to have agreements to drive those vehicles and follow them to another location or to try to weigh them or anything. And then we share costs. I think every other year we get them.
Certified,
certified, and then
certified.
Next year's how like it's certified. So we share that cost. Amount. Use the big,
Yeah.
the officers that are working.
Other exciting news update. Brandon, will you share about the residential road program, when it's going to start?
Yep,
Where we're starting first?
Correct. So yeah, we had a pre-construction meeting last week. We met with the contractor, that's Rock Road Companies. Their tentative schedule submitted was for the week of July 17th. It sounds like they're trying to move some certain things around after we get them answered on a few questions, but they might be able to start as early as next week with some of the removals. So just so you guys know, the primary focus, at least for the contractor, is going to be, if you recall, there's two separate project areas. It's the downtown area where we're doing the full depth reclamation scope. That's the grinding up of the road and then overlaying it. That's going to be their primary focus first. And then they will, as of right now, go to the Sagewood subdivision. That's a remove and replace of the existing pavement. They will attack those areas after. Primary reason is they want to the downtown area, a lot more traffic, a lot more coordination, garbage companies, things like that. And the scope is a little bit more intense. So with the equipment that they have. So they're going to focus on the downtown area first, try to get that done, and then move over to the Sagewood subdivision. So again, the expected time frame for construction right now is potentially next week, if not the week of the 17th of July. And that is all the way through, I believe, the first week of September. So ending just before Fall Festival is their rough timeline. Paving operations are scheduled to be completed in the third week of August. So that's primarily what we establish as a substantial completion once all the pavement gets down. I know some of you new trustees haven't been here, but the issue that we've had in years past is getting projects out bid late and then they're, we're paving towards
November.
November. And we run into issues. We got all of that done and we're much ahead of schedule this year, to 2 months. So
We don't like October paving.
no, so the contractor's coming in, getting it done. My assumption is that they're hopping on it right away. They've probably got some bigger state jobs for later on in the year that they're going to be attacking. So
But there's a
Starting to-
plan afoot to notify everyone downtown of the inconvenience
Correct.
and assure people that the dust issue will be mitigated.
Correct, yep. So, and I need to talk to Troy about this. At a bare minimum, we're gonna do door hangers and social media postings. Next door, Facebook, website, things like that. And I might talk with Troy about maybe sending out official mailed letters. That's a lot of residents, so that's a lot of postage. So I don't think that's typically not how we've handled in the past. But like I said, as a minimum, we're gonna be doing door hangers and social media postings.
I just make a recommendation. Mike is really good at that.
So we will handle that. So we will handle that. Getting
Getting 4-foot signs, those two.
No, but we do have
We
some
will put our-
boards that will
Yeah.
say under construction or Village of Roscoe.
And just to, one thing I'll say, we will make with a contractor at our urging, make every effort to mitigate dust, but depending on how dry that week gets, like they'll cover it with water trucks, but boy, oh boy, when it's really dry and windy, and we had it awful last year during construction, you cannot stay on top of it. It blew a lot of dust, a lot. They'll do their best, we'll stay on top of them. There's no guarantee
Will
that,
there be a list like on, like of the order and on the website for people to see and like this is what we're doing or?
So the issue with that is the contractor's schedule is tentative and they might have crews that posting a schedule is tough, an exact schedule is tough because things change. And then residents want to know why aren't they here working that day? And it's a lot of coordination. In the years past, what we've typically done is just given them rough dates, rough completion timeframes and turn, and we speak in weeks, right? Usually, and give an estimated completion date, but getting into fine details of where they're going to be and when is very tough. The way we handle that for residents is we make sure that the contractor has to allow access to, so no roads are permanently closed. And residents always have access throughout construction at a minimum 1-lane roadway. Now, if the contractor happens to be paving in front of somebody's driveway, they might have to, wait a few minutes, but the contractor has to let them in and out in a reasonable time frame, and we make sure of that.
Any other old business? Thank you very much.
Quick disc golf. That's.
Troy, the update on the, did you get the information back that you were seeking earlier today?
Yeah, I resent it to her and she said that they're gonna try to get to it this week, starting this week.
Putting those pads in.
Yep.
So it'll be all set to go.
the new basket's already installed.
Yeah,
Looks like, yep. And temporary pads right now?
yeah, that's what they're using.
They sent some photos of, I don't know if there were actually people playing, but just sort of, a player's viewpoint of a couple of the holes. Pretty, the ones they carved into the woods over on the new portion west of Willowbrook are beautiful, the way they carved them into the woods.
And
You
the
should all
other,
check it out.
I have one other. Have we received a check from the Fury Wheelan Park boys baseball?
I think we have both checks from one. Yes, I think we have one time. Yeah. But yeah, I'll confirm with Marcos. Steve's out of commission.
yes,
The house behind us where we had done the abatement and the burning.
My favorite topic in the world. So we're done with the asbestos abatement. Now we have to do lead paint abatement.
oh,
And I'm in a public meeting, I better be careful. It occurred to me that one way to abate. But that is, EPA agrees with, so.
Another 6 months.
No, that could be, we've already completed the inspection, identified it, so the abatement can take place. I don't know, proposal. The Harlem Roscoe, the Fire Protection District covered the cost of the lead paint inspection, it was very cheap. I don't have a proposal for the abatement. So proposal, and hopefully I can just authorize it, or bring it to you. I'm hoping that it's a low cost, what's involved with the abatement. Or it's just painting over it or something else, or it's somehow removal. No one I know. But literally, that was news we got Friday.
Have we closed on the new place?
yeah, Friday,
Friday.
Friday.
And the last thing I think is, did we ever get that light in the back of the Chicory Park?
No.
We ever gonna get the light back in Chicory Park?
Any other questions? Alrighty, public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? Anything remote? Nope. Okay. No public comment. Number 12, no need for executive session. 13, may I have a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those who want to go on? No no's. Thank you. Our meeting is adjourned at 7:21. A couple of minutes before committee of the whole,
Whatever you need.
5-minute break.
5-minute break.
Kids with that, take it.
Excuse me.
What's that?
Yeah.
Back there.
I got mine.